I would like to quickly jump into the second report just to help us to be ready to teach. If you're feeling the tension right now on your body, I invite you to have a sip of water. And this is a very quick way to help us to distress, help us to be able to gain back the resources that we have and allow us to receive information, the conductor in our brain to get the receptor moving and get the information. So that's one of the quick way. Another thing is to use the ear popping, increase the rhythm, timing, and flow within our body. May I invite you to put your palm over your ear if you are comfortable. If you are not, it's okay. There are some people who are very sensitive with the ear. So those who are ready, just put your hands over your cup, over your ear, and release. Okay, or you can do it a couple of times and release. All right. If you have any tension on the shoulder, you can also do some ear unrolling. Yeah, so it's a quick one just to release the tension. In brain gym, we call pace. All right. So you can again sip water and do brain gym, brain button. Now, if you are comfortable in standing, I invite you to do a cross crawl. It's a very quick, less than a minute. And a hook up, crossing your hands and your leg and bring it over to your chest and relax. Breathe in and out. And breathe in and out. And then cross your hands and make a ball. All right? So this is a quick way to help us to distress and bring back our unique rhythm, timing, and flow within us. Now then we have resources to use for us to work with our student. Second L is about listening to our student. The first picture of the student that is sleeping. What do you think she senses in her body? What do you think he's sensing in his body?
Sleepy.
What do you think? Sorry, sleepy, yes.
Bored.
Bored, yes. Yeah.
Not interested.
Not interested, yeah.
Thinking.
Yeah, there's
Lost.
thinking.
Lost.
Oh, do you? Yeah. Oh, how about that? If he wants to listen, he cannot see. If he is looking at the teacher, he's not listening. So this is maybe a way that his eyes is redirecting to something else so that he can open up his ears. We are not sure, but it's only from our observation. And this boy can be seeing the teacher, but is still not interested. So that shows something is going on in the body, and this is what we guess. So that's what do you think the child is doing? And the next one is about what do you think they are feeling? Feeling bored, feeling not interested, feeling what else?
Yeah, not her favorite subject, not well.
Not well, all right? Feeling disappointed with the lesson. Why is it so bored? Yeah. Lastly will be no. We cannot see the brain, but we can just guess that maybe it's really beyond what they can absorb. All right, beyond what they can understand. So this can be some of the reason. So the three noticing, same with the first the three noticing of ourselves and others will be sense, feel, and know. Then now we look into 3 ways to identify issues. If you see a student that is sleeping in your classroom and you have to teach, do you go ahead and address and ask her to wake up? Or you may want to consider to do that afterwards, where you actually find a safe space to work with the student and to ask to find out the reason, slow it down, and also with a soft tone to find out the real reason why she is sleeping in the classroom. I once have a student that she always sleep on a mathematics class. Okay, that was her story when she was in the mainstream school. But in the language classroom, she's excited. So the teacher is so angry with her and always wanted to scold her for misbehaving, until one situation she actually had to fight with the teacher. When we talked to her, they realized that she is just not interested with mathematics. And she is just finding the concept is too much for her. She couldn't process, and that's why she just go ahead and sleep. There is a reason behind what the children are behaving. If we can just pause to identify the real issue without, okay, without scolding the student first, without assuming that they are going against us, and without forcing them to do what we want them to do, maybe it's an entry to their inner world to see how best we can work it out. All right, so the first repair is about believing in the power of timeliness and appropriate. If we are able to pause to look at how the situation has stressed us and identify what your students are going through, and using 3 ways to identify the issue with the student to take as is exactly what the student is talking about, we can celebrate. We can say, yeah, all right. Though we haven't solved the problem yet, and that's what we want to go in a short while. But this is the first step. The second repair. The second repair, the plan is where we are going to look into the 7 learning steps. L is language. We think positive, we speak positive, and the positive will happen. And we appreciate the whole process. If we were to do the first repair and move on to the second repair, there are many situations you can start to appreciate, start to say thank you. And in the process of learning from our student, we actually grow as a teacher. And again, this will be a why it's a celebration. Yeah, we got it. Our student got it. We are on the way. And now we know what's wrong. And we no longer guess what's wrong. We know the reason. All right, so the 7 learning step in 3 play falls into the second repair of plan. I have the plan 5 strategical way to support a student, a child at home for the parents. But for teacher, I recommend these 7 learning steps. Remember, we did the second repair of readiness to teach. We need to invite our students to be ready. It's the same thing. Invite them to have a sip of water. Doing a ear popping. These are something easy they can do. Or do a brain gym pace. There are many situations as a teacher, I realized that our lesson introduction was not being introduced. We just go straight and teach. We did not tell the student what are they being expected to, or tell them what to expect. What is the lesson about? Sometimes it may be important for us to highlight new words or concepts. Remember, I say the student is just not interested because the teachers will say, okay, today we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. But we did not pause enough to break it down to simple things. So lesson introduction is important. It can be done in a very fun way. It can be done in a very simple way, but the student needs to know what is being expected. And the last is not the least, to pause and wait for response. We do need to wait for our students to understand today this is what our goal is, our objective of learning is. I work with a lot of special needs children, and in my daily work, I realize that many a time as a teacher, we assume that our students understand us, but many a time they don't understand until we tell. We give them the words. In Montessori, we use 3 period lesson. We tell them what is it. And we ask them to show us the thing that we want them to find out. And lastly, we ask them, tell us back what is it. So repetition is important, and depending on the level or the age of your student. Many young adults or teenagers who went into secondary school, are falling down the crack because they misses out their earlier foundation. And so if we just continue to teach without pausing to identify what they understand and what they don't, they may just continue to fall and they may not be able to get it. So lesson introduction, short but sweet. All right, so this is number 2. Number 3 is a demonstration. Okay, so we did lesson introduction will be more on auditory stimulation, giving information to the student. Demonstration is to show them step by step what are they being expected to do. So that helps students who are visual learner. And then we describe each step very clearly. And then we invite them to say the steps again. You may see there are lots of repetition, but this is important. And I feel as a teacher for so many years that the reason why the students are not interested or not able to, because they're just not getting it. It's not that they choose not to, they are not getting it. So their brain are stressed. When we start to slow down our teaching and meeting their needs and where they are, you will be able to get them back on track with you. So number 3 is demonstration. Number 4 is application. So we have introduction, auditory, you give the information, demonstration, allowing them to see. But we do also know that there are some students who are kinesthetic learner. They need to move their hands. All right. So what do? We want to encourage them to do each step. As we give the instruction, we demonstrate how to be done. Now we want to see whether they can do it at their level and their pace. What does it mean by at their level, at their pace is some children may be at the 12 years old, but they may not be there because of their cognitive ability. They may be at 3 years old or 4 years old. We have to go back to where they are and start from their pace so that they can successfully transit the developmental stages. And also to notice their ability. Can they do it? I always encourage teachers and parents not to jump in too fast to help out. All right? We notice their ability, but refrain ourselves from rushing to help. Because it's okay for the student to make mistakes. It's okay for them to be making a bit messy, like making a cup of drinks, and when they scoop the powder for those who are lower functioning, they may spill because they may not have the experience. Just observe what they cannot do, what they can do, and then giving them some time, we can identify the developmental gap. All right, the developmental gap with Eric Erikson, stages of psychosocial development, talks about at every stage of development, they have successful or they can be having conflict. They can successfully transit from one another to another. And when they develop hope, when they are able to complete the breastfeeding process, when they will develop their willpower, when they assert themselves, they want it their way, and you can also see that they actually also are toilet trained. Moving on to the third stage is where they find purpose in life, then they can learn to be initiative, and they can explore and play. And when, as again, I work with many special needs children, when they can be even in their teenage or young adult stage, but they are stuck at the first 3 stages because they are not given enough opportunity to do so. Yeah, so therefore, it's important for us to identify, is there any gap? Before we even make comments, and knowing that the first 2, the second and the third stage, if the child or your student do not have successfully transit those developmental stages, we develop shame and doubt about themselves. Or moving on, when they want to take initiative, but they are not given because they are not able to do it, then they may develop guilt. These are the conflicts that are increasing in them as their age continue to grow, because everyone have to go through stages. Either we successfully transit or we remain having conflict and compound. The conflicts are compound and become more complex as they grow. Yeah, so I would like to invite you, before we even judge a student for their behavior that is inappropriate in classroom, look at the developmental gap. Another is to also identify their learning strength. Like some students may not be like logical. The student that I mentioned that it does not able to take in information about mathematics, but she is good with kinesthetic. She is good in baking. But because our classroom do not offer a lot of kinesthetic opportunity for our students, that actually may damper them in their ability to fully display the potential. So as teacher, I would like to invite you to ponder about what is your child or student strength, especially those who are not interested, those who are not feeling engaged with the activity or learning lesson. It may be because our approach may not be meeting their needs. How about if we pause and rethink the way we teach? Would that be able to help them to want to learn? Yeah. So when we are doing the planning and we want to look into their strength, the third one, I would like to offer a different perspective to look at if the struggles are related to unintegrated reflexes or some missing developmental pattern, such as if a student have palmar grasp reflex. Whenever their hands, they have sensitive hand, when they hold things, the things always drop. And then they are the one that is not able to copy fast enough. They are the one that always refuse to pass up homework. Is it because they do not want to do it, or they do not have the ability within their own body to do it, and they need help? So therefore, I invite you also to look into their foundation. Do they need further support? When the student have resources within them, they will want to learn. First step is about learning readiness. Second step is about lesson introduction. The third step is demonstration. The fourth is application. Whenever we see that our students are not able to do it, we don't rush to help them, but I invite you to do a movement break. Movement break is about, remember when our brain are stressed, how do we know they are stressed? You can see the way they are displaying the behavior or their ability. Then invite them to choose either to do a movement-based learning activity or the RMT movement or the brain gym movement, any one movement to help them to go back integration. And as they are doing a movement like just a quick ear popping, we help to reset the brain and calm the system and integrate the reflexes and give more resources within the brain and body system. When they are able to do that, what do you think the student will face? They actually feel safe to learn again. They feel being respected. They feel being honored and accepted. Many a time a student do not do it, it's not because they refuse to, but of course if they have gone through trauma, they have been scolded, they may refuse. But if they are genuine, it may be due to their unintegrated reflexes. All right, so fifth step is movement break. Give them about less than 10 seconds sometimes. A ear popping can be less than 10 seconds, but it can be a quick one. And we go back to step 4. We go back to step 4 when we see the application. And now we want to determine, now they already understand that they are struggling. So we need to determine the challenge. Okay, so give me a minute as so we talked about the first time is to Just let the child experience, let the student do something, not a lot, but just enough for you to identify what are their challenges. And then now we do a movement break, and we already determine the challenges that face, either due to the conflicts in the developmental gap, psychosocial developmental gap, or due to that it is not meeting their learning needs. Because every student have got different intelligence that they are very strong to work with, or they may be due to their reflexes, unintegrated reflexes. So now that you have gathered all this information, we need to apply prompting. Some student needs to be prompted. Prompting and forward and backward training is a different class that I teach the parents and the teachers, but it's to apply appropriate prompting, and so that we can give them confidence to complete a task and then slowly fade away the prompting. We do not want them to be prompt dependent. We want them to be independent. Do you agree with me? Yeah. So need to slowing down and fade the prompting, and then measure the level of their independence. So that is our goal as a teacher. Our students need to develop independent and confident. All right, so you can see that step 4, go to step 5 and back to step 4. When you have completed that, and you can go up and down. When the prompting is, they're not getting it, and you can give them some time to integrate, or you actually can move on to back to the movement break if the student want, or call it a day. Okay, so then the step 6, now you go to step 6, is reinforcement. To take time within, we have 30 minutes a day for each lesson for our student, and we cover these 7 learning steps. That shows that it's a short and sweet for our student. We review this lesson, we apply positive language to encourage the student to state what they did well, and it can be little baby steps, it can, and an effort in carrying out the task that can be appreciated. So through the reinforcement, we do that. And finally, step 7 will be reset. It's an invitation. It's not a chore. It's not a duty. Invitation to invite the student to do the cleaning up process, to close the chapter, and we do it together. So this is what I have been using in my breakthrough enrichment station for our students who learn differently and who are all with different special needs. Challenges, but they come together and they learn together, and we see that they are progressing day by day, developing independent, confident, and they are more willing to communicate, interact with their friends.